We've got time for a couple of questions here. We'll try and squeeze a couple in there. We may end up going into overtime. But Simona, the first question for yourself, it's open to our other panelists as well. And the question is, when the SEC has recently proposed amendments to the exempt offering framework, would the proposed rules impact ICOs in your opinion, and indeed in the opinion of today's panel?
Yes, actually, it's been mentioned earlier. In March of this year, the SEC has proposed some amendments to the exemption regime with the intention to harmonize and rationalize the framework that actually is pretty complicated at this point. It consists of more than 10 frameworks and safe harbors. And so I think there are some rules, some proposals that may impact favorably ICOs. In particular, the proposed rules increase the offering limits for Regulation A and Regulation crowdfunding, and also Rule 504 that Andrew has mentioned. For Regulation A, in particular for Tier 2, the proposed rule raised the maximum offering amount from 50 million to 75 million. And also, they raised the maximum offering amount on secondary sales from 15 million to 22.5 million. In addition, for Regulation crowdfunding, the offering limit has been increased from 1.7 million to 5 million. So this becomes, with these increases, the exemptions, both Reg A and Regulation crowdfunding, clearly becomes a more interesting exemptions to use. It was in the making. This type of proposal were in the making at the time when we adopted these exemptions. They were mandated by the Jobs Act. At that time, the Jobs Act gave us really a stringent mandate, and the SEC had took the stand to take some time to learn and have an experience with the rules before taking additional and observe the marketplace in order to take additional steps. And so the proposed rule go in a positive direction. In addition, there is another proposal related to clarify the integration rules, and in particular the ability of issuers to move from one exemption to the other, and also to transition over time to register offering. So everything is goes the proposed rule. I see some good impact on ICOs. They're only proposed. We'll see also the common letters. And at this time, the proposed rules don't mention explicitly ICOs or the crypto space, but clearly these are exemptions that can be used in order to be compliant.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We'll close with this question here. It dropped in during your segment. It is, of course, open to our other panelists as well, but just a future look here. Andrew, do you think that future tokens will perhaps not have to register as securities under the SEC?
So I think that in regards to kind of the development and what we've seen in the changes from the SEC perspective, I couldn't really necessarily envision a world where there's not going to be a full exemption from registration, but I could definitely foresee kind of a build off of Commissioner Pierce's safe harbor rule that allows for platforms to have a extended period of time to kind of figure out their platform in terms of its development, as well as issuing the token. Now, at the end of the day, the securities perspective is always going to be there, and we have very, very entrenched statutory language that's been around for a very long time, and the U.S. definitely stands near the top in terms of the severity of securities regulations comparatively to other countries in the world. And so I don't think that there will ever be a day where tokens will just be able to be issued continuously without any regulatory reporting. But what I do think is that there are going to be newer iterations and maybe modernization of kind of the more traditional approaches. So a really good example would be changing the ways that accredited investors can verify their accreditation, or maybe they can highlight different assets that they own in order to prove themselves as accredited investors. Or like a company has an opportunity to really full on issue a token, experiment in the way that they are issuing the token to individuals, so long as they're verifying those individuals from an internal perspective. And it kind of would create an outgrowth of a self-regulating component of the industry, which definitely is not there right now. And we're kind of seeing the after effects of 2017 and 2016. And so once we kind of get over that hurdle, I think that there will be some new iterations that will definitely mitigate the regulatory responsibility that clients have in the space right now.